Greetings, Captains. I'm Yusril, and welcome to the Tribble Timewarp. It is just about the 20th of May. There are less than 24 hours to go until the Legacy of Romulus launches, and for the final Time Warp of this series, we are going to take a look at the Tholian reputation rewards. Well, technically they're the Nakara Strike Force rewards, but there you go. So, to quickly reprise... The reputation, of course, is found through the usual window. Active projects are the usual round of aid and or bribery, as you would expect. Interestingly, despite the fact that it says on this mission that you cannot cancel or change a project, actually these days you can. So you don't get a refund, but you can dump a project and it will quickly finish. You do, however, have to tab away and back, I think. It's not quite there yet. However, usual round of bribery. In addition, as far as rewards go, you have various abilities: identify vulnerability or extra health on ground at tier 1, likewise in space for tier 2. At tier 3 you have either a proc chance to get an emergency fix to your health and your shield damage resistance, or else the cryo immobilizer module, which is basically a 20% chance on critical hits. So it's a 20% chance on what is already a fairly rare event to get a little bit of a bonus. And at level 4 you have either extra auxiliary power setups or extra offensive setups. So if you're going aggressive or defensive, you can pick there. Finally, we have the refracting Tetrion cascade, and well, you can pretty much see what it does there. The numbers are obviously before all modifiers, so they do get considerably bigger than that. We'll take that power into space later. You also have the ability to respec your reputation powers. This does cost. We don't know how much it will cost, of course, but you can rest assured it will cost, for the little Zen icon is there. There is also a good chunk of equipment rewards. There are basically several flavours: reprogrammed Tholian drones, the Nakara Strike Force cryo set, the Shattering Harmonics set, Tholian Widow Fighters, Sonic Anti-Proton Weapons. These are the ones that used to drop in the Nakara boxes. And as we advance on up, you get various other options, including refracting Tetrion weapons and the usual rounds of shinies. So let's have a look at these. The Tholian, or rather Nakara Impulse engines, these are at Mark 12. We will use the adaptive Mako for comparison to begin with. As you can see, the Nakara Impulse set is much faster, much more agile. However, it does not quite have the same level of flexibility since it focuses entirely on shield power on the engines. The shields themselves are of the resilient subtype. Now, for a comparison, I'll just get rid of that for the moment. These are basically resilient shields with 2 cap modifiers, 2565 cap, baseline regeneration 71.2, reduced Tetrion damage, reduced radiation damage, which is comparatively rare, and of course these set bonuses. We'll come back to those later. For reference, that's a blue resilient shield. You can see slightly higher regen, slightly lower cap. So that gives you an idea of the numbers. The deflector, by comparison, let's pull this up, is very much rigged for a science ship in the healing mode. So you have improved shield mitters, you have extra hit points yourself, both to shields and to structural integrity, as well as resistance to energy drains, knockbacks, and general crowd control. Perhaps less stable than the, rather less versatile than the Mako, but on the other hand, much more specialised for the shield role. As far as the set bonuses go, Here we go. Right, weapon stabilizers. This is a biggie if you're facing the Tholians and to a lesser extent the Atlarchi. Both of whom are very keen on using disable conditions because this will hot restart your weapons after 4 seconds regardless of any kind of disable effect or the source. So you basically don't have to keep mashing engineering team to restart your weapons. Given how often those go offline when Tholians are chucking disruption torpedoes or Monbosch battleships are throwing viral matrix around, that's a fairly handy ability to have. You can also turn it into an offensive mode with a 3-set, which basically gives you a targeted AoE, 10km range, 3-minute recharge, big chunk of Tetrion damage and a big splash to everything within 5km. However, it does take the weapon stabilizers offline, so it's a bit of a trade-off really. Most people I expect will just go for the 2-set and keep things passive when they're fighting Tholians. In addition, we have the Widow Fighters. As I said, there we go. So Tetrion beam arrays, quantum torps, fire at will 1, and they will plug into the Recluse Tetrion grid. Needless to say, these come in various flavours. Blue ones at basic levels. There's also purple and indeed fleet grade at maximum level. The Nakara Web Breaker is a single shot consumable that will allow you to, well, it does exactly what it says on the tin. 2,500 Tetrion damage to everything within 4km, and Tholian web nodes and walls just go poof. If you're running a science vessel, well, the thought occurs that anyone fighting Tholians long enough to get access to web breakers will already have a method for countering Tholian webs. In my case, it tends to be tractor repulsors. Other people will use fire at will or scatter volley just to break a section of the web. These are a convenience more than anything. It remains to be seen how much they will cost in the store. Finally, as far as space is concerned, we have the special weapons. The Webbind Launcher is an interesting little toy, does a lot of physical damage straight through shields, or at least half of it goes straight through shields, and also immobilizes. You'll see that in action later on. The Hyper-Dual Refracting Tetrion Beambank is essentially an enhanced mode of the standard version. Right, now we're comparing Mark 11 to Mark 12, so bear that in mind. The DPS numbers will be different. In fact, let's just quickly stash that in there so we can get both sets of stats at once. And let's pull out the phaser cannon so the game doesn't get ideas. There we go. So, same power drain, slightly higher chance, or rather slightly larger drain to the shields, and a distinctly more reliable refraction proc, not to mention 20% accuracy on the Hyper Dual Bank, whereas the refracting dual weapons, well, this particular set has crit D damage. Most of them only seem to have double damage, so it remains to be seen how effective these will be compared to similar grade and quality weapons. However, finally we have Nakara Particle Converter. This is really nice if you're running a science or a cruise build because it gives you 10% accuracy with beam weapons, which is a fairly big deal. You also have improvements to the particle generator and power insulating. Again, this is very much emphasising a science vessel's healing and a cruiser's tanking build. And of course, more shield power. So, let's just load all of this up. We'll stick in the refracting beam, put the the web mines in back, load the console in there as well. In fact, we'll probably just dump the armour. Blech, why am I even bothering? We won't need phaser relays for this, will we? And load the beam arrays in the back. Ye gods, I'm incompetent at times. Right, so beam arrays forward, shunting back, and we will stick the Mark 12 set into play as well, and it'll be much simpler if I just double click these, won't it? Right. Oh, and load in the web breakers Okay, we are pretty much good, I think. Let's get this into space. Okay, so looks, this has actually been significantly improved from the first versions, which is why I kind of wanted to hold off. As you can see, it's kind of, well, it's given you a very Tholian look to the hull. You've got the callbacks to the Tholians' triangle web in the deflector beam. If it'll just flash it forwards again. There we go. Warp nacelles are adopting the blue and yellow crystalline look of the Tholians, and the hull itself, well, the Vesta may not have been the best choice for a Tholian hull texture. Oh well, maybe they can tidy it up a bit before anyone actually gets these on live. So, weapons are set for auto fire. Let's pop the Widows out while we're here. Yep, standard Widow fighters. I assume they replaced the life support to handle Terran crews. And being a 3-set, we have the unstable Tetrion lattice power available to us. So let's tweak the power settings a bit. Full attack, since we're not running the auxiliary phaser cannon. And we need something to shoot up. What mission's going to do this? So, welcome to Minus Korver, where the Klingons are on Tribble extermination duty, and we've been sent to interrupt them. It's as good a testing ground as any for the new weapons, mostly because I know I'm going to get some decent combat here. Alright, no use for torpedo powers on this one, but we do need the mines. Web mines, ladies and gentlemen, you get 2 on a normal deployment. Dispersal patterns will give you an extra 2 mines for each rank of the power. Usual variations, Alpha gives you the trail, Beta dumps them all out the back of the ship at once. So needless to say, in my view, Beta is always the more effective. The Hyperdual Refracting Array, the special mark version, as well as the web mines and the console set, form their own set. And let's take a quick look at the bonuses here. So what do we have? Tetrion amplification, more Tetrion damage, which is always good. Flow capacitors is a handy thing if you're planning to chuck around Tychon's Rift and tachyon beams. And finally we have the refracting assault, which upgrades the fire at will and overload modes to just hit more targets on a reliable basis. Right, I need to quickly shunt that in there. Okay, so let's go find some Klingons. There we go. First pass will be short and sweet. We'll just dump the mines. Yeah, I'm on. As you can see, like all mines, they've got the usual problem that they're a little easy to outrun to begin with. However, they will eventually catch you up. Unless they decide to destroy a bioneural warhead by way of point defense. That's not the recommended tactic. So let's get in front of him and try that again. Helm over, bait him into the field. Come on. Come on, stupid. There we go. 2 of them triggered. 3 and 4. As you can see, he's encased. It is stacking. And, well, you can see the kind of hull damage that's just done clean through his shields. These things are vicious, not to put too fine a point on it. Dump those again, see if we can actually kill him without firing a shot from the standard beam weapons. Come on, stupid Klingon, round you come. What is he doing? Crystalline refraction lockout. Crystalline refraction lockout. I'm assuming that is you cannot simply spam mines onto this guy, but I'm not entirely sure. No, you I want dead. Right. Let's just settle this down a bit, since I'm tired of mucking about. Gravity well just to keep you in place. I'm tired of you running away from me. Sub-nuke him. And dump the mines. Pop, all four impacted. He's effectively routed. And there goes his hull. Right. The Tetrion weapons themselves use the standard graphics. Damage is as you would expect given the numbers and the bonuses. Their main advantage, of course, is that they have an inbuilt, effectively, fire at will proc. So let's go and get these multiple enemies over here and give the beams a chance to show what they can do. Right. Hello, Gerard. Right. Fire at will, so we now have the proc from the dual beam array in play, and you can see the bounce firing away there. It's not particularly long range, so it really is for use on closely packed enemies. However, well, it's handy to have, I suppose. It's the web mines that are really the standout feature of this set. And we'll let the fighters come out to play now. Just break targeting and cease fire for a bit. As you can see, the fighters aren't too shabby either. Bear in mind these are the fleet grade, so they're fairly effective. And as a finisher, we have the unstable Tetrion Lattice. Remember, this is the 3 set from the shields, weapons, and deflector. Again, chaining attack, nothing outrageous. Much as with the Nakara mines, it's the individual bits and the 2 set, in this case, that are the standout, not the whole kit and caboodle. So that perhaps gives you some flexibility that you wouldn't otherwise have. 1 and 2. All this extra shield power's coming in quite handy. Plus 33 over a 50 power base isn't too bad at all. Gravity well to stop you running. Sub-nuke to kill your bonuses. And mines away. I'm starting to think that these could easily replace Tricobalt mines as the heavy hitter, simply because of the sheer amount of shield penetration they have. However, Giraud is hacked off, and we're heading down to the surface to take a look at the ground gear. And yes, he did bring a fleet in to protect his base just to attack tribbles, and they're not harmless. Have you seen what they can do to an ecosystem if they get out of hand? I didn't think so. Right, back on topic. We have 3 sets to work with this time around. The Crystal Nanofiber set is a reprise of the set that existed in the old Tholian Nakara boxes. Numbers are basically unchanged. There are 2 new sets as well. The Shattering Harmonic set is geared for melee and physical damage. Klingons, you're going to love this one. And the Nakara Strike Force set is perhaps a bit more balanced. These are all environmental suits, so they have all the advantages thereof, The downside, of course, is that perhaps it's not quite as good a protection as the regular body armor. So, as you might imagine, these are very much meant for work on the Nakara environments. I have to question the irony of giving you a set... Why am I not just double-clicking? Of giving you a set that is optimised for beating Tholians, when in order to do it, you are going to have beaten so many Tholians into the ground that you didn't need the set in the first place. However, that's just me. Right, let's have a look at the looks of these things. Ladies and gentlemen, can anyone else say Cylon at this point? Just saying. However, the sword itself is kinda nice, and gets even nicer when it actually plows into combat. And for the moment, let's just load the hyper cryo option in as well. Get a quick look at that. Pretty utilitarian thing. Not really any kind of faction design to it, although that kind of bronzy hull metal perhaps owes a bit to the Klingons. So, needless to say, these also come with set bonuses. So for the Shattering Harmonics set, we have Resonance Imbalances of 2 set melee attacks will debuff your target for 3 seconds, causing their personal shields to take extra damage. Basically, you set them up and then your away team or your teammates take them down. Note that this is only personal shields, and note that it's only a short duration debuff, so it's only going to be your current target. So the Y key is your friend, guys. Use it. 3 set Shattering Harmonics gives you bonuses to dodge, avoidance, run speed and perception, and also adds extra damage to attacks with the crystalline sword. Oh, and your shields have no bleed through, so basically you turn into a close combat monster. There is also an interesting little thing here, because it gives you a rather odd vision mode. It also turns your sword into a lightsaber, so I'm not sure how much of that was intentional. Oh, and to further capital, it gives you the Resonance Sonic Blast. Yes, it turns your sword into a gun. It is that awesome. So, let's go give this a try. Hello, Klingons. We've come to hurt you. Yep. You are Luke Skywalker. This is either going to be the most awesome thing in the game, or it's going to cause no end of controversy when people accuse Cryptic of getting Star Wars into their Star Trek. Where are you? Dead. Oh, and the sprinting pose is kind of nice as well. Right, let's wait for the freaky option to come back so we can try out this sword blast. 1-0, there we go. Weird animation, and hi there. Zap. Oh! Wow. Kill me. Yeah, he just fell over, didn't he? Interestingly, that should have been a sword pummel, not a shoot him in the face option. So let's try it again. Yep, we got the standard pummel there. So that may just be a little inconsistency with the proc resolving. Okay, but we made fairly short work of these guys. I'm going to set the away team to passive for this next bit. They will not attack, but we'll continue to heal them buff. There we go. Alright, come here, I'm going to kill you all. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, fairly heavy damage at one point. Engage the buff and shoot him. 165. So it's not outrageous damage by any means, but it's fairly effective, even if this vision mode does take some getting used to. Okay, and yeah, we got the shot there again. I don't know whether that's just a handover from the third option being off cooldown when the vision mode ended, but it shouldn't be doing that. Okay, are you dead? No, you aren't. Okay, so that's the Shattering Harmonics set. The other one, of course, is the Nakara Strike Force set, so we'll load this one up and load in the shields as well. Graphics are, again, a variation on the standard environmental suit. A little bit bland, if I'm feeling honest. It would have been nice to see an up-armoured and reinforced version of the Mako suit, just beefed up to look like it was meant for hostile environments. So extra leg armour, reinforced helmet, reinforced breathing gear, extra environmental work on the backpack, bits and pieces like that. However, we didn't get that, so let's see, do I have the right thing loaded? Shattering Harmonics, Mako Personal, yes I do. Right, set bonuses for this version then. What do we have? Information. Right, so reduce recharge time on all secondary weapon modes by 10%. That is perhaps something that's of more use with things like sniper rifles and pulse waves in play, rather than necessarily the rifle itself. And we also have the defensive shield hardening barrier. So, friend and self, so basically your away team, 5 meter sphere more or less, so close range AoE. This is going to leave you a little vulnerable to things like exothermic induction and plasma grenades if you make use of it. However, you do get extra shield reduction, tougher shields, and basically it's a protective dome. This could come in handy against the Borg, to be perfect frank. However, it does slow you down, so you can only do 1/3 speed. So I'm honestly not sure how useful this is going to be compared to everyone else. However, let's see what we get. Right, there we go, trigger the barrier. And there we are. So those Targa are just going to have to sit there and like it. Beyond that, it's pretty much a standard full auto rifle. Nothing particularly spectacular. Go away. In all honesty, I'd be inclined to take the rifle from this and then go with the Shattering Harmonics set for everything else. At least for Tholians. Oh, come on, fall over. There we go. And right. It's worth noting that while the rifle is unspectacular against regular targets, you do, I believe, yes, it's cold damage, so there's relatively little resistance. I believe Tholians have an innate vulnerability to that, so matter of opinion as to whether it's worth it, but as I say, my money's on the Strikeful set. And as a final note, for those of you who missed it, we do of course have the Crystalline Nanofiber set. Same graphic as the Nakara Strike Force, which is, well, no, it's not quite the same. There's a little difference in the colour scheme. Alright, colour me disappointed. I was... at least the Strike Force also has the virtue of being visually distinct. It's quite hard to tell the Nakara and the Standard apart. In fact, my character window isn't even updating, which is a little bit of a bug. However, just to make sure I've got the right one loaded, yes I have. And, yeah. Load in the compressed cryo launcher, which is a distinctly nastier looking piece of work. You can see the relationship to the Strike Force rifle. This just looks like a much heavier piece of kit. It is, of course, a pulse wave effect, if memory serves. Yes. So let's just fire this off a few times, see what it can do. Basically, it's a cryo pulse wave weapon. Let's go have some fun. And while we're at it, let's have a look at the set. Unfortunately, since the test vendor wasn't selling the shields, it was selling impulse engines instead for some reason. Hell of a manifest switch up there, guys. Again, all we can do is show you this. I can't unfortunately deploy Violent Discharge. However, we will still get the absorbed lattice effect, so 50% chance to grant 5% all damage and adds up to one's charge, stacks 3 times, so potentially 15%. Stacking. Obviously, if you're in environmental damage, that's a 100% chance, so it's tempting to just go skinny dipping in some lava for a bit to get the stacks before a fight. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, however. Alright, oh, and let's take the guys off passive. Didn't mean to do that. Set to normal. There we go. Right. And boom. Well, that was unhelpful. Crunch. Crunch. As you can see, it's fairly standard pulse wave. Nice damage at close range, but it's going to suffer if you run into somebody with a plasma flamethrower. The final toy you get on the ground, of course, are the Nakara drones. Now, these are another consumable that you get, so let's just load them up. Like so. You can actually access these from the inventory, so you don't have to load them into a device slot, which is a nice touch. Deploy the little guys. You get 2 at elite level, an assault and a stasis drone. And you can generally have some fun with them. The stasis drone is, of course, the nuisance factor that you were expecting all through your Tholian fighting career. And the assault drone just hangs around and shoots at the target every now and again. As you can say, we made pretty rapid work of that guy. And take all the loot. Yeah, Faye's a split beam rifle, must have looted it off somebody himself. Oh well, it's not stealing. So, that pretty much rounds up the Tholian rewards. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been Userol. That has been the Tribble Timewarp. Legacy of Romulus goes live tomorrow, so patch day is going to be so much fun. And I will see you when the dust settles. Farewell.